You've been doing everything separately. Some days you study, some days you review, some days you try to remember what you learned last week and realize most of it is gone. You're running individual tools with no system connecting them. And individual tools without a system are just expensive hobbies. The people who actually accumulate knowledge fast, the ones who seem to know more every single week, who retain everything, who make connections you can't see yet, they're not smarter. They're not more disciplined. They're running a system, a specific sequence of daily actions that compounds, every day building on the day before, every week measurably ahead of where they were the week before. Most people study. These people install. There's a difference. Studying is input. Installing is permanent encoding. Studying fills a leaky bucket. Installing plugs the holes first. I'm going to show you the complete daily system, every component, every sequence, every reason why this sequence matters. By the end of this, you won't just have another productivity tip. You'll have an architecture, a machine that runs every day and outputs permanent knowledge on the other side. Chapter 1. Why systems beat habits. First, understand why a system beats a collection of habits. A habit is a single loop. Trigger, behavior, reward. It operates in isolation. It doesn't know what the other habits are doing. It doesn't amplify them. A system is a set of components engineered to interact. Each component produces an output that becomes the input for the next component. The interactions create effects that none of the components could produce alone. This is not motivation language. This is engineering. Your brain's learning process has 4 distinct biological stages. Each stage requires different conditions. Each stage feeds the next. Stage 1 is acquisition. New information enters working memory. Stage 2 is consolidation. Information transfers from short-term hippocampal storage to long-term neocortical storage. This happens primarily during sleep. Stage 3 is retrieval. Stored information gets accessed and used. Every successful retrieval strengthens the storage. Stage 4 is connection. Retrieved information gets linked to other stored knowledge, creating networks of understanding rather than isolated facts. Most people only deliberately engage with stage 1. They acquire. They hope the rest happens automatically. It doesn't. Or rather, it does happen automatically, but at a fraction of its potential efficiency. The other 3 stages can be deliberately optimized. The daily system does exactly that. It engineers all 4 stages to run at maximum efficiency every single day. Here's what happens when you don't have a system. You acquire information. You skip deliberate consolidation priming. You skip retrieval practice. You skip connection building. Your brain runs the process anyway, but at default settings. Default settings are weak. Default settings are why you forget 70% of what you learn within a week. Default settings are what the average person runs their entire life. The system overrides the defaults. Let's build it. Chapter 2, the morning sequence. 20 minutes. The system runs in 2 phases, morning and evening. The morning phase takes 20 minutes. The evening phase takes 30. Everything in between is normal life. You don't need to restructure your day. You need to restructure the first 20 minutes and the last 30. Here's the morning sequence. Minute 1 through 5, retrieval dump. This is the 5-minute habit from the previous video. Blank page. Everything you want to remember from yesterday and recent days. From memory. No notes, no references. You are not reviewing, you are retrieving. The distinction is everything. Write fast, write in fragments. Keywords, concepts, frameworks, ideas. You are not producing the document, you are activating memory traces. Every trace you activate gets stronger. Every gap you hit gets flagged for priority consolidation tonight. Do not check your notes first. Do not prepare. The discomfort of not remembering is the signal that the system is working. That discomfort is your brain doing the actual encoding work. If it feels easy, you already know it. If it feels hard, you are building it right now. Minute 6 through 10, gap analysis. After your retrieval dump, open your notes. Not to review everything. To find the gaps. Compare what you retrieved with what you actually learned. Identify the specific items that didn't come up. Circle them. These are your priority items for today. This step is not optional. The gap analysis is what makes the retrieval dump more than just a memory exercise. It converts the session from practice into intelligence. You now know exactly what your brain has not yet encoded strongly. You know exactly what needs more retrieval cycles. You know exactly what to focus on during today's learning session. Without gap analysis, you are practicing retrieval randomly. With gap analysis, you are practicing retrieval surgically, targeted at the specific weak points in your current knowledge architecture. Minute 11 through 20, spaced review of flagged items. Take the items you circled in the gap analysis. These are the items that didn't come up in retrieval, meaning they are weakly encoded. Review each one, but not passively. For each item read at once, close your notes and retrieve it immediately. Right now, from the short-term memory of having just read it 30 seconds ago. This sounds trivially easy. It is not trivially unimportant. You are creating a fresh retrieval event for a weekly encoded item. That retrieval event sends a consolidation signal. Tonight's sleep will process this item with higher priority because it was recently retrieved. You have just programmed tomorrow's stronger memory with today's 10-minute session. Hermann Ebbinghaus mapped the forgetting curve in 1885. He showed that memory decays exponentially after encoding and that the decay can be interrupted by a single review at the right moment. The right moment is not random. It is just before forgetting occurs. His research showed that a review at the right moment doesn't just pause the forgetting. It resets the decay curve to a shallower slope. The same information now takes much longer to forget than it did after the initial encoding. Your flagged items are items you are about to forget. Reviewing them now this morning is the precisely timed intervention that flattens the forgetting curve for those specific items. You are not reviewing because you should. You are reviewing at the exact biological moment when review produces maximum impact. 20 minutes, 3 steps. Your morning is done. Chapter 3, the learning session. Variable length. The middle of your day is where acquisition happens. This is where you read, watch, attend, practice, build. The system doesn't prescribe how long this takes. It prescribes how you do it regardless of length. 3 rules for every learning session inside the system. Rule 1, outcome before input. Before you open the book, start the video, or begin the practice session, write 1 sentence. What specific understanding do I need to have at the end of this session that I don't have right now? Not a topic. An understanding. Not I will study chapter 4. I will understand why the kidney regulates blood pressure through the renin-angiotensin system and be able to explain the mechanism from scratch. This sentence does 3 things. It activates your brain's relevance filter, the reticular activating system, which then flags incoming information that matches the target as high priority. It defines the minimum successful outcome for the session, which prevents the session from expanding indefinitely into adjacent material. And it gives you a clear retrieval target for tonight's consolidation priming. Without this sentence, you are browsing. With it, you are hunting. Hunters find things. Browsers collect noise. Rule 2, active processing, not passive consumption. Every 15 to 20 minutes of input, stop. Close or pause the source. Retrieve what you just learned, out loud or on paper, from memory. Immediately. Do not wait until this end of the session. Do not wait until tonight's retrieval dump. Retrieve now while the trace is fresh. This is what researchers call the generation effect. When you generate an answer rather than passively receive it, the encoding is measurably deeper. Your brain works harder to produce information than to receive it. That extra work is the learning. It feels slower. It is faster. Every retrieval event during the session doubles as a consolidation signal. You are compressing what would otherwise take 3 sessions of passive review into 1 session of active processing. Rule 3. Note the connections, not the content. Most people take notes that summarize content. What the material says. This is the least valuable form of notes. Your brain can retrieve content from the original source. What it cannot retrieve from the original source is the connection your specific brain made between this new material and something you already know. Note the connections. When new information reminds you of something you already know, write it down. When a new concept applies to a problem you've been thinking about, write it down. When 2 ideas from different domains suddenly look like the same idea in different clothing, write it down immediately. These connections are the raw material of insight. They are the building blocks of expertise. Experts don't just know more than beginners. They have more connections between what they know. They see patterns across domains that beginners can't see because beginners have isolated facts with no connecting tissue. You build connecting tissue by noting connections the moment they occur, not later. Now, the connection that feels obvious in the moment is completely invisible 30 minutes later when the 2 ideas are no longer simultaneously active in your working memory. Chapter 4. The evening sequence. 30 minutes. You've retrieved in the morning. You've acquired during the day. Now you prime the overnight consolidation. This is where the system produces its most dramatic results. And this is the phase most people skip entirely because it happens close to sleep, and the temptation to just watch something and decompress is almost irresistible. Resist it. The 30 minutes before sleep is the highest leverage cognitive window in your entire day. What you do here determines what survives until tomorrow. Minute 1 through 10. The consolidation dump. Different from the morning retrieval dump. Broader. More generative. Take a blank page. Set 10 minutes. Write everything you want to remember from today. Everything that mattered. Every concept, every connection, every insight, every gap. Let it flow without structure. You are not organizing. You are activating. You are sending the consolidation batch to your sleeping brain with a clear priority signal. These things happen today. These things mattered. Process accordingly. At the end of 10 minutes, circle the 3 most important items. Not the most interesting, the most important. The ones that if you remembered them perfectly for the next year would most change your capability. Circling them is an act of prioritization. Prioritization is an emotional signal. Your brain registers that these 3 things received extra attention. The amygdala flags them. The hippocampus receives a stronger consolidation instruction for these specific items. You have just waited the overnight processing queue. Minute 11 through 20, meaning construction. For each of your 3 circled items, write 2 sentences. First sentence, what this means in plain language. Not the technical definition. Not the textbook explanation. What it actually means. What it actually does. Why it actually matters. Second sentence, where this connects to something I already know or something I care about. This is not a summary exercise. This is meaning construction. And meaning construction is the single most powerful consolidation amplifier available to you before sleep. Research from the University of Toronto showed that collaborative encoding connecting new information to existing personally relevant knowledge produced dramatically stronger memory consolidation during subsequent sleep than simple rehearsal of the same information. Your brain is a connection machine. It stores things better when they have addresses. The address is the connection to existing knowledge. Give every important item an address before sleep. Minute 21 through 30. Transition. This is the phase that most productivity systems ignore because it doesn't feel like work. It is work. The most neurologically important work of the evening. You need to shift your nervous system from activation mode to consolidation mode before sleep. If you go to sleep with a cortisol-elevated, cognitively activated brain, your deep, slow-wave sleep stages are shortened. The memory transfer is incomplete. Everything you just primed gets partially processed instead of fully processed. 10 minutes of deliberate deactivation. Dim the lights. Lower the temperature in the room if possible. Breathe slowly and deliberately. 4 counts in. 4 counts hold. 4 counts out. 4 counts hold. Repeat for 2 to 3 minutes. Your parasympathetic nervous system responds within 60 seconds. Cortisol begins to drop. Sleep architecture improves measurably. Then one final act. Write 3 sentences. What was the most important thing I learned today? What is the single most important thing I need to do tomorrow? One thing that happened today that I'm genuinely glad about. The first sentence closes the learning loop for the day. The second sentence closes the planning loop. The third sentence produces a mild, positive emotional state at sleep onset. That emotional state influences REM processing. REM is where connections are built and insights are generated. Going into REM with a positive baseline produces better connection building than going in stressed or neutral. 3 sentences, 2 minutes, every night. Then sleep. Chapter 5, Why This Compounds. Here's what the system produces over time. And this is the part that nobody talks about because it takes 30 days to see and most people quit at day 7. Every morning retrieval session strengthens yesterday's memories. Every gap analysis targets today's learning precisely. Every active processing session during the day deepens encoding. Every evening consolidation dump primes overnight processing. Every night of optimized sleep runs the full consolidation protocol on a well-prepared batch of information. Each of these effects is measurable individually. Combined, they create a compounding loop. Week 1, you remember more than usual. The gap between what you learned and what you retained is noticeably smaller than before. Week 2, you start noticing connections you didn't see before. Material from different sessions starts linking. Your gap analysis sessions get shorter because fewer items are slipping through. Week 3, new material integrates faster. You read something new and it immediately connects to 3 things you already know. The connections are automatic. Your retrieval is faster. Your understanding is deeper. Week 4, people around you notice. You reference things accurately that you learned weeks ago. You make connections in conversation that surprise people. You solve problems using frameworks you learned recently. You look like someone who thinks differently. You don't think differently. You have a better maintained brain. The hardware is the same. The maintenance protocol is different, and maintained brains compound. Every well-consolidated memory makes the next consolidation easier because there are more existing connections for new knowledge to attach to. Every strong retrieval pathway makes future retrieval faster. Every morning you run the system, you are slightly ahead of where you were yesterday. Not just in what you know, in how your brain processes everything. This is what expertise actually is. Not raw intelligence. Not years of passive experience. It is a densely connected, well-maintained knowledge network built through deliberate daily practice of acquisition, retrieval, consolidation, and connection. The surgeons, the pilots, the grandmasters, the elite performers across every domain we've discussed in this series. They are not operating on superior hardware. They are running superior maintenance protocols, some deliberately, some accidentally, but the mechanism is the same. The system is the same, and the system is available to you right now. 20 minutes in the morning, variable time during the day, 30 minutes in the evening, 50 minutes total of deliberate cognitive maintenance in exchange for a brain that compounds every single day. Most people will hear this and do nothing, not because they don't believe it, because starting feels like effort and not starting feels like an option. It always feels like an option until suddenly it doesn't, until the gap between where you are and where you could have been becomes visible and permanent. The gap is already opening. Every day you don't run the system, the person running it is further ahead, not slightly, measurably, compoundingly. Start tonight, not tomorrow, tonight. Run the evening sequence, 30 minutes, 1 consolidation dump, 3 circled items, 2 sentences each, 3 closing sentences, sleep. Tomorrow morning run the retrieval dump, 5 minutes, blank page, everything from yesterday, from memory. That's day 1. Day 2 follows the same structure. Day 3, day 4, 30 days. At day 30, you will not recognize the gap between what you know and what you knew, and you will not be able to stop, because the system feels good when it works, and it works from day 1. Here's the problem, though. The system only works on the right material. You can run perfect consolidation, perfect retrieval, perfect morning and evening sequences. But if you're feeding the machine the wrong 80% of any given subject, you are building a perfect archive of things that don't matter. The filter comes first. The system comes second. Together, they are almost unfair. That's why I made this video on how to identify the crucial 20% before you learn anything. Watch it next.